You don't have to get off. No, it's starting about 4. It's good.
Prioritäten muss man da setzen.
Nachricht von Lisa. Wir machen Schluss. Es geht nicht mehr. Und danach guck
Ist das echte Werbung?
Ja?
Ist das eine echte Werbung?
Nein, das ist so ein Meme gewesen. Wir müssen hier raus.
Hast du gedrückt?
Thank you.
In Scotland, only about 40%, but his books went around the world. First ever international best-selling author was Walter Scott, and people looked and thought, wow, Scotland, I've got to come to Scotland. This looks really good. People started coming here. In 1822, King George IV was his #1 fan. King George IV home. He vanished. He was found 3 days later floating in the canal. His route home took him nowhere past the canal. Nobody ever knew what happened to George Meikle Kemp. Now, a lot of people said a man of his low calibre and experience shouldn't have even been allowed to be here. The one at the back, the Scottish National Gallery, and this one here, the Royal Scottish Academy. Art galleries. This one is modern contemporary art, the one at the back is your great masters of art. Free. Most museums and galleries are free here in the UK. They are paid for by the taxpayer. Up there on the left, the money shot of Edinburgh, if you will, that Castle Rock. Came out of the earth about 700 million years ago. Hasn't erupted for about 350 million years, so we're pretty safe. Edinburgh, in fact, is built on 7 volcanoes, but that there is the famous one. What you're looking at there is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, so that's in the same league as the Taj Mahal or the Great Wall of China. And it is the single most consistently inhabited site in the UK. In 3,000 years, people have been known to be living up there. Now, 2,000 years ago, when the Romans came here, they found a tribe living up there called the Voltadini. And they had a name for that. You drop it. Edinburgh. That's how you said the name of the city. Over here on the left, St Cuthbert's Church. Now, this here is the oldest Christian site in the UK. There's been a church of some description here for about 700 years. And it's got a few interesting things. It's got stained glass windows by Tiffany of New York. It's got a famous statue. They had the better end of the deal. Over here on the right, the Johnny Walker Whiskey Experience. This is Willy Wonka Does Whiskey. This is an entire walk-through experience. It is not a shop, it is not a museum. It's a very new tourist attraction to us. Now, we have a stop coming up here. This is more of a get-on than get used to be. The World Centre for Medical Research. People are trained to be doctors here. Open up human bodies at the medical school, see how they work. But you can only yourself. They would put it in a barrel, rolling up the road to the medical school, and you get paid money on the door, no questions. It was a very, very lucrative experience. But of course, people didn't like that. They would pay the night watchman to try to stop the resurrection men. Now, coming up through Edinburgh's Theatre District, this building over here on the left is the Usher Hall. You've also got on the right, not this lorry, it's always a term, oh, they're right, this is our premier concert venue. It's not huge, in fact. It's got only about 2,200. A lot of people have never heard of Usher. He's the man who created blended whiskey. Johnny Walker is a blended whiskey. He's the man who created it. He did it by accident. He was a teetotaler, but he found out it was very profitable. In fact, he gave the city of Edinburgh 100,000, like a bakery. You had to be beyond the city walls, so you couldn't burn us down anymore. You could burn down yourself and your neighbours all you liked, but not the rest of us. We have a beautiful shot here of the castle. Now, there is a stop, but it's not the stop for the castle. But, of course, ding the bell or wave your hands if you do want to get off. This is more of a, again, you go wandering, you can get back on the stop. It's more like that. Now, I love the shot because it looks like the castle is organically growing out the rock. But actually, you can see we still have modern bits. Up to the left is a much more modern part. Over here to the right, a much more original part to the castle. More original because the original, of course, was made of wood. Now, in the year 1314, a man called Thomas Randolph, the nephew, was going to take the original wooden castle back for the English who had taken it. He was trying to impress Uncle Robert. He clambered up those rocks with his men, 30 men. The rest of the army was waiting outside in the dark. As he got near the top, someone shouted down, "I can see you." Everyone froze. They thought, oh no, here it comes. Would you believe the guard turned around and said to his friend, I'm only joking. Opened the gates, his men ran in. Robert the Bruce was not impressed. He didn't want to hold on to the castle. He wanted to fight a guerrilla war, so he burnt the castle to the ground, so he had to build a stone one. Hey, that tells you just how big that is. Now we have the stop coming up for Edinburgh Castle. This is Edinburgh Lawn Market coming up in just a minute. Now do please keep your seats, because tourists love to kill themselves, and here's where they love to do it the most. They will hurl themselves in front of buses if they get an opportunity. They walk in the middle of the road. Here we go. Here we go. Hit him. Come on, Flavio. Hit him. Edinburgh Castle is just up there. Look that way. That's the entrance. And you have a bagpiper, of course. Now, how the building has looked from 1500 right up until about 1900. So it gives you the whole sort of history of the building as you go through it. Now, it used to, once upon a time, be a linen shop. And that kind of gives you an idea what we used to do here. It's called the Lawn Market, but originally it was called the Linen Market. Now if you look around at ours, he got a bit too cocky. In fact, he had built a gallows right here on the corner, a special new gallows to hang people, to hang the thief. Guess who was the first person who went for the long drop on the gallows of his own making? William Brodie. This idea of an upstanding man by day and a nefarious character by night. Just past this scaffolding, if you're on the right, look down. If you're over here, look down. Not. But I'll tell you a story. Why is it the Elephant House? 1705, a Dutchman lived there with Abraham Sievers. He lived in the apartment above it, and below was a bakery, and he lived in the apartment with his pet elephant. The baker kept complaining when the elephant with a pea, it could seep through the floorboards. He called the council. The council came round to a barrel, rolling up the road to the medical school. This big building here is that medical school. Those over there, coming up on the left, are the main doors that you wheel the body through. A man, Robert Knox, with a hard cat at the door for that dead body. Had some famous alumni here now. Between 1750 to 1800, 84% of the doctors in the UK went here, including Charles Darwin and Arthur Conan Doyle as well. I found Nightingale to be the top hospital in the world in its time. On the right again, Hogwarts, all one of them. This here is George Heriot's school, which gave her the idea of the 4 houses of Hogwarts. George Heriot, known as Jingling Geordie, used to be the banker and financier to King James VI of Scotland. He was called Jingling Geordie because he always had money in his original fire stations. In fact, it used to be a museum dedicated to a man called James Braidwood, the father of the fire service. Started the first ever municipal fire service here in Edinburgh so successfully he went down to London and started their last victim. Their last victim was a little old Irish lady who could drink more than both of them combined. Now, again, it's another stop here if anyone wants to get off. You have to wave at me or ding the bell at any time. This is Pub Central. Lots of pubs here, lots of history here as well. On the left, the White Hart Inn dates from 1515. That's the oldest pub in Edinburgh. Not the original face here because it got bombed by a Zeppelin in World War I. So they had to research it. Circle in a minute. That's where it was done. She dangled here for 40 minutes. She was pronounced dead, put in a coffin, taken up to the cemetery at Portobello. Suddenly, hold on over the coffin, Maggie Dixon's still alive. She gets up and she says, "Am I in heaven?" That was her first words. They said, "No, you're in Portobello." She said, "But what happens now?" They said, "We're going back to the grass market." They brought Maggie Dixon back here, put her back on the stand, put the noose around her neck. The crowd was going wild. The hanging was very popular back in those days. Suddenly a local lawyer, like John Gray, he kept them safe in the middle of the night, but people loved them. Dogs should be in a graveyard, chewing bones and digging things up. They would go, as do poo bags. Anywhere I go, I can be around the world, you reach in a pocket, there will be a poo bag. Go into graveyards unless you know someone. We say that people are at rest, they're asleep. Here in Scotland, that rule doesn't exist. You can wander around a graveyard, you become a national monument. Your grave is a monument, you are open to the public. And so people come here and wander around the graveyards. Now, if you go into Greyfriars, you can see some interesting ones. I saw the coup. I've had a look. It's not there new. He must have shifted. That's it. Greyfriars Cemetery is just through there, and Greyfriars Bobby Street, past our National Museums of Scotland. The new one over there is where we show Scotland to the world. That is where you find Scottish stuff. It starts down on level -1, goes all the way through. It's a chronological journey through Scotland. That's him. He owned a publishing house, and he also wrote a history of Edinburgh, including getting attacked by a severed head that was ghostly in Mary King's Close. Man over here on the right, their second statue, William Henry Playfair. Now I said to a lot of putting inside, there's 1567, here's the open space they built. What do you mean, oh really? I've had people do that before, sit there with a phone. I said, what are you doing? They said, I'm Googling. I said, what are you doing? Plaques on walls in Edinburgh. I saw one yesterday, it was great. It said, in this street in 1897. I went, yes, and it said, nothing happened. Not that Salisbury Crags, but it does lead into Arthur's Seat. That there is a volcano. Again, Edinburgh, as I said, Rome says, party. We blew 2/3 of the entire budget on whiskey alone. And then we drank the whiskey. We never finished the National Monument. It's still known to this day as Edinburgh. And nerds from around the world consider that place Mecca. We have a stop coming up. This is the stop for the Palace, for the Parliament, and also for Dynamic Earth. Now, this Dynamic Earth is a great place to go. It doesn't look very big, that's because most of it is underground. It is a story of the Earth, as seen from Scotland's point of view. Scotland's been around a little bit. In fact, we've been at the North Pole. It still feels like that sometimes. We've been at the equator. It never feels like that. Ever. And this literally, you go down into the earth, you go through the Big Bang, making a scheme going called the Darien scheme. All the rich people have put isolation of the debt. If you were rich, this was brilliant because you got away debt-free. You're rather half asleep. No. Pick up there, signed! United Kingdom is born, Act of Union is signed, the United Kingdom came into being in what is now the ladies, or God Save the King, of course, and there's a king on the throne. That is actually a copy of a French song. It is about the king suffering with prolapsed piles. Yes, our national anthem is about a French king with a sore bum. It's not all glamour around here, you know. Talking of glamour, the actual Queen, we're in the Queen's own park. You see these tiny little lampposts with the Queen's crown on them. The Queen gifted this Hollywood Park to the city of Edinburgh at the millennium. These rocks up here, we've seen them before, Salisbury Crags. This is the birthplace of geology. Now, during the Scottish Enlightenment, a man called James Hutton, the co-founder of the Scottish Royal Academy, went up there. He studied igneous and sedimentary rock and he came up with an amazing discovery. But he wasn't bad. You see, the church said the earth these were the early geologists. They said the earth was 4,000 years old, but they knew for him to say the earth was much older than 1 million years. He said it had no appreciable beginning and no appreciable end either. That man is the father of geology. Now, over here on the right, by the way, the Palace of Holyrood, the Queen's house when she's in here. Apparently it's not open today. I don't know why. It's always open apart from Tuesdays, but apparently it's not open today. Great place to go if you like your Bonnie Prince Charlie history, your Jacobites, Outlander, Mary Queen of Scots. Over here on the left, the ugly building, the Scottish Parliament, designed by Catalan architect Enrique Morales. What happened to him? He died. His wife had to finish it. The ponds down the front here, by the way, represent the lochs of Scotland, all 32,360 of them. Bet you didn't know we had that many. On your right, you see the palace again, and to the left, the original old abbey, or just about what's left of it. And we're going to be coming around the corner. You can have another good look at it as well. So this is the bottom of Royal Mile. If you walked up that, eventually, a mile and an eighth, because that's a Scottish mile, you'd be at the castle. So now look at the palace and the abbey, but this little people have come up. There was a scurrilous rumour about Greyfriars Bobby. Someone came up with this ridiculous myth. They said that the Greyfriars Bobby buried in the churchyard. Pointy bet. That there is one of our other volcanoes. You can see all the people on the top. I used to say little people, and then I used to say they're not little, they're just far away. Now, there was a complaint a few years ago. I'm not sure who they were complaining to. And it's about an hour and a half to climb up there. It is well worth it, yeah. Look over everything. Down below it, of course, you've got the ruins of the old abbey, you've got the palace, you've got Dynamic Earth as well. The sun has come out, the fairies. Fairies are broken on the character, he had nothing. His previous book, Martin Chuzzlewit, had flopped. If ever you saw it on TV, it was rubbish about 20 years ago. The grave Charles Dickens tripped over, this is what it said. Ebenezer, and he thought, how mean was this guy be? They put it on his grave. He was fascinated. He went home, he told his wife. He mentioned those. That's because the headmaster, Horatio, a great name, thought the boys at the school would be distracted. It was the scene of a famous riot in 1595. Cancelled summer holiday, which was only a week anyway. The boys rioted. In fact, they right, it's so bad they called on the police and everything. The chief of police in Edinburgh was shot in the head by a 13-year-old. Named after Nelson's telescope to commemorate the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. And this here is Carlton Hill, the original entrance of the Fairy Kingdom. You people who have been on since the start, this is it. Fairies do exist, by the way. The Martyrs Monument, this big obelisk, and there in front of Hume's grave is Abraham Lincoln. Why is Lincoln in the graveyard? Because 6 Scottish soldiers who were killed in the Americans. Diesel jumps off that bridge. It's a 50-foot drop for crying out loud. He'd snap his legs like twigs. Of course, it's Vin Diesel. He lands with arrows. The clock, by the way, always famously runs 3 minutes faster, so you don't miss your train at Waverley. North Barton Bridge opened by a dead lady, said to be cursed. They said the first person across it will die. They put a dead person on a cart, made her go across. She fell off there like that. They said, look, she's dead. The curse is lifted. And a police station down here to the left. Waverley, the only station in the world named after a book or a series of books. There you go. A series of books by the man on the monument there. So found the source of the Nile. Also went to Africa to try and convert Africa to Christianity. He was a rubbish missionary. How bad was he? Well, Africa, he converted one person, a tribal chief, and he said, "Oh, the dead spit in each other." Except the guy I went to school with didn't have a blue on his head. Just to look at. Now coming along Princes Street, the main thoroughfare for Edinburgh. Used to have a covenant on the land, no shops. Look at it now. Yeah, Europe's biggest Primark. Winners means Playfair. And if you look up, that statue up there is a John Steele on top of it. That's the one that Queen Victoria hated more than any statue of herself in Playfair at all. He put in for 2 buildings down there. He only got one of them. He put in for the church and the Edinburgh Academy. He didn't get the Academy. That went to a man called William Byrne. He waited till Byrne set the foundations, and then he said, great, I'll build the church here. And then when it finished, they realised you can't see the Academy from the top of the hill. The church blocks it out completely. Playfair didn't play fair at all. Now you can see over there again to your right the Kingdom of Fife and the Firth of Forth, and over here to your left Edinburgh Castle, and down there the leafy entrance down there, Swanky Cocktail Bar, very very good, just won an award. Pubs, yeah, lots of them. The Alexander Graham Bell. Because this here is Charlotte Square. This is designed by Robert Adam. We already know what happened to him. He died. One building, a giant open palace. Georgian architecture was all about symmetry. See the knobbly bobbly bits at the bottom of the houses down there? Which is good. By the way, Dr. David Lister, the man who invented sterilisation techniques, particularly of surgical instruments, he lived in the one on the corner. Anyone's ever washed their mirror of this? We are fixing it. I just mentioned it. Now, look at that always to change. If you go down that way, by the way, Stockbridge, the coolest place in Scotland, voted every year. St Stephen's Street, just down past. One final thing out to the left there, just behind St Andrew's Square, the red building that looks like it's been dropped out of Venice. It's supposed to.
मध्ये मग
I just thought